Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rotterdam Inside, your Eurovision talk show brought to you by OGAE and ESC Daily. It's the day of the grand final, and we're going to look forward to that show today on our talk show. Yesterday, we had Gert Waterink here, a super fan of the Eurovision Song Contest. That was, of course, and a member of OGAE, so that was the OGAE side of things. And today we have Dennis van Iersel, who is a journalist at the Eurovision Song Contest for ESC Daily. Dennis, welcome.
Thank you.
Could you tell the audience who may not know you or who may only know you through ESC Daily what you do the other 11 months of the year?
Yeah, I'm a sports journalist. I work for a regional broadcaster here in Rotterdam, so it's a home. I'm playing a home game this season, and I'm a sports commentator. Doing talk shows, talking about Feyenoord, the biggest club in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and doing the radio commentary of every match, nearly every match that they play.
And then during May and during the months maybe before the Eurovision Song Contest, you have this other job at ESC Daily covering Eurovision. How do you relate those two things to each other?
Yeah, for me it's very logical because Eurovision is also a competition. It's not a sports competition, but it's a music competition with its own set of rules that you have to apply to be able to be successful. You have to play the game in the right way to be able to have success at Eurovision. I strongly believe in that. And it is that competition element that attracts me in my daily job as a football commentator, following sports, but also at Eurovision. So I focus mainly on that competition part of the contest.
And does that mean that you report both events, let's say, in a similar way as well?
Yeah, with a positive, critical attitude. Of course, I like Eurovision just as much as I like football. That's why I ended up doing what I do. But specifically, I think when you like something, it makes you even more critical as well towards what you are
because
seeing.
You care about it so much.
Yes, but it's positive criticism always. This is the way when I follow the football team. It's because I want them to do good. And that's the reason why you ask critical questions when necessary. And at Eurovision, it's the same. My dream would be to have a final or even a complete contest where all 41 participating nations give the best that they have. That would be my dream, to have a final with 26 acts all competing for the win. And it's a utopic thought, maybe. I don't think it will ever happen. But that would be the ideal image for me.
All right.
So when countries don't deliver, you can criticize that because in the end you want them to
be successful.
Yes,
you want them to be successful. Yeah. All right, so football and Eurovision. I have to ask one last thing because maybe the people who watched the show today followed the news and saw that those two things clash a little bit in this week. There was a preparation issue, right, between the grand final on Saturday and a match that was supposed to be played. Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah, Feyenoord is a huge club in Rotterdam. It has a lot of supporters, and Feyenoord usually performs pretty well and is done when the regular competition is over. In the Netherlands, we have a football system that when you don't end up high enough, you have to play some extra playoff matches. Well, Feyenoord and also the city of Rotterdam didn't expect Feyenoord to underperform this season. So Feyenoord had to play these playoff matches. And the final of the playoffs was supposed to be tonight during the Eurovision final. And the Kuip, the stadium of Feyenoord, is close to Ahoy. It's like a 10-minute drive.
So for security reasons, that was not possible?
No, of course not. Because Eurovision, not only do I compare it to the Olympics of music, also, when you look at security issues, if you've ever been to Eurovision around the venue, you immediately know...
It's a huge logistical operation.
Yeah, you know what I mean, with all the security barriers around it.
Yes.
So almost all the police in this part of the Netherlands, they are all around Ahoy. So that makes it impossible to also host a football match with supporters even 10 minutes away from it. That's not possible.
So the fact that this issue came up so late and so close to the actual final, does that show that the Netherlands still doesn't fully understand how big of a logistical operation and security operation the Eurovision Song Contest really is?
Yeah, I have seen a major change in how people approach Eurovision, because the questions you ask me, I get them a lot in the sports industry that I work in. People say, well, why do you like Eurovision? I can't match it with with doing football commentary. Whilst for me, it's very logical to combine the both. But that has changed over the last couple of years. People take Eurovision more serious. People look more into the competition element as well. So you can still like or don't like the songs. That's each personal taste. I can get that. And if every year there are songs that I like a lot, and there are also songs that I don't like a lot, so I can get that. But when you look at the production, at how big Eurovision as a total package is, you have to have the uttermost respect for what they are doing every year. And that's starting to grow in the Netherlands as well. This year, people are in the venue, people have seen the production, seen what it takes to make this show. So I think that's the last step that's being taken now. But even before this contest, I don't think all people in the Netherlands know how big of a deal Eurovision actually is. Because if you still were thinking that, yeah, we can host a Eurovision final and a football match on the same evening, if there are people who still think that, yeah, then you haven't really looked into Eurovision and what it takes to host a show like this.
And it's not 3 nights as well, right? It's every show is there 4 times. You have the dress rehearsals as well, which also now take a lot of logistics because there's audience in there as well.
Yeah, I do believe Feyenoord also played a match on Wednesday during one of the jury shows, and then it was possible because I think the security measurements are just a little bit higher during the actual live shows, yes, and that makes perfect sense because if you have evil plans and you want to do something, you would do it during a live broadcast, obviously. So it makes sense that the security is even more tightened and there's even more police during the actual shows, let alone the Eurovision final.
Yeah. So for security reasons, those jury shows may not be as important or as big as the televised shows on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But for the competition, they are just as important because the jury decides 50% of the actual result.
Jury members will convene tonight and on Friday night to vote in the jury finals. Each jury member must watch an instruction videos before the voting, so that we can really hope that we have an error-free voting this year. The most important thing is basically try not to be influenced by outsiders. Do not get influenced by betting results or by the judgment of others.
The first country that is guaranteed a place in the grand final is Norway!
And how do you check that?
We have notaries in every country, independent persons that are not employees of the participating broadcasters, and they are making sure that the rules are observed.
They then send the results to you?
Notary and the chairperson enter the results into our platform, verify that everything is correct, and then transmit it with a ton, similar to your bank account, which is only valid once. And once we have this result, they have to print it out, sign it as well, and send also the signed copy to us. And only if we have these both forms, digitally and by the signature, then we will accept the results.
Ukraine! So now we know these 10 finalists who've received the most points from the national juries and you at home are coming back this Saturday.
To make sure that this jury vote remains fully safe. It's quite, well, we were talking about the logistical process and the security process, but this is quite a process as well, to make sure that it all goes safely. Yeah,
obviously, you know, it's a competition. We're talking about serious stuff when you look at it from a competition point of view. Of course, Eurovision is about fun. It's about enjoying yourself. It's an entertainment show, but there is also a competition. And
those points actually matter.
Yes, because there's money involved in Eurovision. Let's be realistic. When you get the chance as a nation to host the contest, to attract what kind of tourism it attracts? For instance, if Moldova wins Eurovision or Serbia, or I can name any country. We've been to Azerbaijan, Steve, the both of us. We probably would have never gone there in our lives if it weren't because of Eurovision. And I think that's for many Eurovision fans and journalists, it's the same way. So winning Eurovision it means something, not just the prestige, but it also means something for a country, money-wise. So when
or even just to reach the final, because for a country like Albania to have their song, to have 3 minutes of airtime, broadcast time for 200 millions of people, that almost never would happen in another scenario.
Yeah, so because you have indeed that competition element, as an organization, the EBU needs to take it very serious that competition is being held in the most fair way possible. So you have to control these things.
It went wrong last year a little bit, but it was
not
still
a little bit.
It was still important. It was still important because it changed the outcome of the jury winner, for example.
Yeah, and the semi-finals.
Oh, I even forget that part.
Yeah, we had 2 years ago, and the non-Eurovision fans probably don't even know it. That's what makes it the worst, I think. I believe Denmark wouldn't even have been a qualifier. They were 12 in the final in the end, but they were a non-qualifier if the jury results were corrected in the semi-finals as well, because some jurors had their list upside down. So Lithuania in the end missed by a couple of points, and they would have been in Denmark would not have been. And I believe in the first semi-final we had the same thing with Poland and I believe Belarus.
Yeah, might be. And as I just mentioned, that's a big issue for those countries to get that slot in the grand final and to showcase their song to a big audience.
Yeah, so it's very important to even more after these mistakes of last year to check those jury results. Not only if they are playing by the rules, there are rules for jurors. You have to make your list, your top 26 of the night in the final, all by yourself. It's not allowed to discuss it with the other people in the jury, and then you combine all the lists. So that's a rule, and you have to check if they are playing by those rules. But from now on, please, EBU, always check if the list is really correct. Double check it.
Yeah, very important, of course. And then another rule is that those points from the jury show, who were all they were all made last night, cannot come out before the grand final, of course, because they cannot influence televoting. And still, you, together with me, are trying to give the audience at home some idea of how those jurors may have voted last night.
Yeah, from a working perspective, the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights are actually the most important ones to be at as a journalist, because it's the same show as everyone will see on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But no one is able to see it, and no one is able to hear it except for the accredited press in the press center. And it decides 50% of the outcome of the show. So if you mess it up on that night, on a jury night, it could seriously affect your chances of being successful. And a good example of this is of the contest 2 years ago, Spain. He was Miki was his name. During the jury show, he went off key, and it was a mess. And it's too bad it's not recorded, so people later on can see why he got only 1 point with the jury.
And there was a big discrepancy between that performance and the one on Saturday night.
Because on Saturday night he was good, so I can get Spanish people like, "Hey, we're being robbed. What's this? He was pretty good on Saturday. I can get that." But on the Friday night, he really wasn't good. It was his worst performance, and I felt pity for him because he was in the rehearsals. He was also good. So that's an example of how the performance on Friday that no one will see. The footage is not released later after the contest as well, but it can make or break the outcome of your Eurovision result. So those nights, the jury nights, they are super important, and you yourself as well dug into what kind of rules are there for the jurors. What do they pay attention to when we, in hindsight, look back at the jury results? And we have done so since we have jurors in 2016.
Yep, and we did it last night again. What were the acts that stood out that probably will have gotten a great jury result?
Yeah, I would say it's an easy pick because they're also on top in the bookmakers list, and that makes sense because to actually win full Eurovision, you need to impress both jury and both televote, of course. And when we look at the top picks of the bookmakers, you have France in there, you have Switzerland, you have Malta. They all did a very good job. Switzerland had one shaky note, but I don't think that will hurt him that much. And the fourth main contender this Eurovision is Italy. Yeah, and maybe a bit strange because people say that's a televote magnet and it might not do as well with jurors. I think they will do pretty well with juries as well because they are very professional, charismatic, playing the camera, the things that they do great. And yeah, the genre of the song, it could be jury appealing, but they are very credible. So I think Italy won't win the jury vote, but they could have ended up high enough with them as well to be able to get the overall win. So I would say the four main contenders, it's the most safe answer to give, but the four main contenders of this year, they all did very well during the jury show.
You mentioned that one missed note by Switzerland.
Yep.
Do you think that one note can make all the difference in the way a jury evaluates a performance?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think jurors are sitting with a note pad, it's all digital nowadays, on their lap and taking, how do you say it, when you put with a marker, you put red marks for every missed note. No, that's not how a jury is. Just someone like you and me looking at the show and taking into account what they also personally like. But it's a bit different when you're with friends in a room with a bag of crisps and beer, or if you're separated and just solely looking at the screen and you have to judge the performances.
And you have a responsibility too, because that's something that we saw, right? That juries feel some kind of responsibility to vote for something. We are supposed to vote for something high quality.
Yeah.
And then they tend to scrutinize that very much.
So one fluke note won't make you bomb with the juries. But it does set a juror. If I'm imagining that I am a jury member and I'm seeing someone perform and there's one bad note, but the rest is all super, I would forgive him or her. But if there's a first weak note and then it follows up by a second, and then later on in the big finale another mistake, then it adds up together more than for televoters perhaps.
Yeah, and starts to make you wonder, can this person actually sing this song?
But that was not the case,
not
for,
the case
Switzerland.
for Switzerland.
No, not at all. But when you have such a tight competing field with the jurors as you had last night, maybe they ended up with their three potential winners: Malta, France, and Switzerland, talking about the jury vote solely. And then you have to put them up against each other. Then that could be decisive in, okay, I'm going to rank them third instead of first. Yeah. I can see that happening for some.
Let's talk about France then, another possible contender for that jury victory. Why would that be so high up the jury's list? What would be the main reasons for that?
I think the main strength of France when it comes to jurors, but I think as well for televoters as well, is she is, and I don't speak a word French, je suis Dennis, and that's as far as it goes. So that would be a challenge next year possibly. I think her main strength is, despite the fact that I don't speak French, I completely understand her, because she isn't singing a song, she's telling a story. She's delivering her message, and she makes such a strong emotional connection. It's important for televoters, but for juries as well, because it's combined with, I think, a very jury-friendly song. It's a bit outdated, but we've seen jurors in recent years go for that kind of stuff.
For more old-fashioned stuff, yes.
The vocals are spot on each time around. So it ticks all the boxes to be a jury winner, and also some boxes to even win the televote. So I'm very optimistic about France's chances to win the competition, even though I would personally rather see a more refreshing entry winning Eurovision. I think Barbara will do very well.
So France, Switzerland, that's the ones that we've discussed. And there was a third one that we ranked very high to be up there with the juries last night, which was our great performer from Malta, Destiny. And because she's so high up there with the juries and with the bookmakers, we decided to talk to someone from OGAE in Malta, because they might potentially win Eurovision this year. So we're joined here today by Adrian Refalo. You're from OGAE Malta. Welcome on the show.
Thank you very much for your invitation. Yes.
So
hello, everyone.
So tell me, what's it like for you to experience this Eurovision Song Contest from home? Because you're probably used to go to all these places, right?
course, yes. Every year I go and travel where Eurovision is going to take place. So this year I'm staying home because of the situation, global pandemic in around the world. So it was better to stay here. But having a very good song this year from Malta, I feel a bit sad because I want to be there in the arena together with other fans. But at the same time, I'm here, so I cannot enjoy that atmosphere which will take place in Rotterdam tonight. So I feel a bit like I'm happy, but at the same time, I'm a bit sad that I cannot join other fans in Rotterdam.
So what do you do to make the experience at home more enjoyable? Do you have any plans, special plans to make tonight count?
So basically, I will watch the show with my whole family tonight. So we are limited to households at the moment in Malta because we have to keep as much as possible very few households at home. But at least I will enjoy it with my whole family because the whole family loves Eurovision. So it will be a nice experience also to enjoy the final together with other Maltese family as well.
I see you having a little bit of camera issues, but we're just gonna go on and with the interview nevertheless. It will be nice to share this show with your family, and it could be a very special show because, as you mentioned, Malta has a great entry in this year's Eurovision Song Contest.
Yes.
So tell me about
indeed.
Destiny.
Indeed. I mean, Destiny was chosen as a candidate, of course, because she won the X Factor last year, in 2020. She was supposed to represent Malta last year, and because of COVID, definitely the national broadcaster has also appointed Destiny to represent Malta this year, 2021. Destiny has how can I say? She has a very solid voice. She's incredible on stage. I mean, at that age of 18 years old, I mean, her voice is superb. I mean, we really trust her. I mean, she has a very good song this year. I mean, it's not every year that we have a very good entry, but this year I think we can count on it because we believe that Destiny can deliver such a great song tonight during the Eurovision Song Contest. So we believe in her.
She's, of course, a great performer, and she is a potential jury darling. I think many people are convinced of that. Do you think it can also gather a lot of televotes from the 6th position that she's in?
Well, having said that we have the 6th position, the first thought which came on my mind was, oh no, 6th. It's at the very beginning. But then I said, listen, whether it is a good song, obviously I believe in her song. People will not forget her song. So whether she sings in first place, 6th, 10th, 13th, 20th, the last place, people still remember her entry. Obviously, the placing running order, if she was towards the last 10, I think that plays a little more advantage. But well, I think the people still will love her entry. Obviously, from the past experience, we really lack a lot of televotes points. So we are very strong on the jury, but unfortunately, on the other side of the televotes, we are not doing very well. Hopefully, people will count on her voice. Because as I said before, I mean, one cannot forget her song quite easily. But okay. I hope so that people will vote to her song.
And we hope with you. Thank you so much, Adrian Refalo from OGAE Malta. Have a lot of fun watching the show with your family tonight.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for the invitation. It was nice talking to you.
Destiny from Malta, the bookmaker's favorite right before the start of rehearsals here in Ahoy. And then she dropped down a little bit. She had maybe a disappointing first rehearsal, then recovered. And now she has starting position 6 Is that going to hurt her chances?
Yeah, I think the way she dropped in the odds after the first rehearsal was kind of an overreaction. And that mainly to do with her clothes. You can see it in the backdrop. She was all in the first rehearsal. She was all dressed in pink, and behind this backdrop, you almost didn't see her at all. So that was visually was the most disappointing. Vocally, yeah, she's amazing. I've heard her in the delegation bubble when they. It was her warming up her voice, and that was even impressive. And when she gives it all on the big stage, is one of the best vocalists, maybe the best vocalist in this field. Combined with a jury-friendly song, yeah, you have typical jury winner written all over it, and definitely jury top 3. I would be so surprised if she doesn't end up very high at the beginning of the voting.
And then to make it to be an actual contender for victory, you obviously also need the televote.
Yeah.
That's where her running order might be a bit more of trouble than with juries, right?
Yes, because she's early in the show and you have a lot of very also visual, powerful acts coming up way late in the show. However, will Destiny be fully forgotten? No, I don't think so. And when you look at the start of the final, like the end is really strong. From the 16th song, which is Finland, way up to the 26th, they are all good. It's a lovely field. But at the start, there are some weaker entries. And the first one that really hits in, really gets it going, is the Maltese one in the 6th place. So I think she can still stand out. Maybe just not enough televotes to actually win it, but she could come close.
Yeah, and so do you understand why they put her on the 6th place? Because I feel like in the community there's still this feeling that you're supposed to put, like now that we have a running order that's not drawn anymore, it's decided by these producers, that you should put all those favorites as late up there as possible.
Yeah, I understand that, but this season you have 4 up to 6 favorites, and you can all give them the pimp slots, of course. So that's difficult, and you also want some good stuff in the beginning of your show. I think a part is still drawn, of course, with allocations, and the organization. I think they would have liked to spread the quality more over the entire evening, but it wasn't possible because the best entries they all drew second halves, of course. And then you have to place someone who's very good also a bit early in the show, and that helped with Malta. And we of course don't know her semi-final results. We are all thinking she could have possibly won the first semi-final, but we don't know it.
And the interesting thing is that not only we don't know it, but the people who decide the running order, they don't know it as well. That's what Twan van der Nieuwenhuizen told us. He's the head of contest this year.
Let the Eurovision Song Contest begin!
Our priority is to present a running order that's, well, the most impactful and most fun one to watch. 26 acts, and there's a lot going on. There were a lot of challenges when I thought musically it would be nice to come from this one and go to the other, which was not doable. Our stage hands, they work very, very hard to put everything on time in the tiny time frame of only 40 seconds. I think we have a great running order. A good opener with Cyprus and a good closer with San Marino. Of course, being the opener of the grand final, it has something extra, I think. In Cyprus, we have everything you want from a Eurovision show. It's a great song, a very strong performance. And of course, a lot of viewers already saw it, but then again, you have to take in account most viewers only watch the grand final, so it's for them, I think, a perfect show opener.
Do you know the results of the semi-finals?
The results of the semi-final is a big secret. I am also not informed, so that didn't play a role in putting up this running order. I think it's fair for everyone. I hope it's fair for everyone, of course. If you have a strong act, don't worry, believe in your own strength, of course, and go and continue how you performed in the semi-final, in your semi-final. You were one of the top 10, so that's great, I think. And for the Big Six, that's of course something different. But well, let's see how everything will come together in the dress rehearsal.
See you Saturday. See you at the grand final. Bye-bye.
The running order for a large part decided this year not by musical decisions or competitive decisions, but simply by practical decisions to be able to make the show happen.
Yeah, it's very interesting, right?
Yes.
To get to know how they did that. We also made earlier in earlier talk show, I believe in the first one, we showed how difficult it was to have all the prop changes in the first semi-final, going from Ireland to Cyprus to Norway. And they wanted to avoid that in the final if possible. So they also take that into account. And yeah, that shows that it's not just a music competition, it's also an entertainment show, and they want to have it as smoothly as possible. So yeah, they use that in producing the running order. I can understand it from a television making point of view. Competition wise, yeah, you would like it to be possible to make it about music first as well and have the ideal mix up musically to give a good show.
What are the most interesting parts in this running order, according to you?
Yeah, we talked about Malta. I'm thinking about, suddenly thinking about Alexander Rybak in 2018. He won the second semi-final, then he had the first position in that semi. He actually won the semi-final, but no one saw that coming because he got kind of like the similar position as Destiny now has in the final. And when you look for the running order, you say, oh, no, then she probably won. Maybe she didn't win her semi-final. Maybe it was, I don't know.
Lithuania, Cyprus.
Yeah, someone who got a better slot in this final after all. But yeah, now we learned it's not the case because at least this year it isn't. The local organization, the Dutch broadcaster, they don't even know the actual results.
All right, so then the running order that we currently have. Cyprus opens, San Marino finishes, a lot of these top favorites in the second half of the show. What impact is this going to have on our televoting result? Because we've spoken a lot about juries already. Let's talk about televoting now.
Yeah, well, I mentioned France already. I could see them also doing very well in the televote, coming after you had Lithuania and Ukraine, of course, and then there are France and Azerbaijan following up. So it's a very visual, empowering part of the show with up-tempo songs. And then all of a sudden you have France, also with visual power, but in another way, of course. It's staged so classy, so much class, and I think televoters will pick it up as well. But they will also pick up the song that's in front of it. You know, Ukraine also benefits from France coming after it, and the other way around. Lithuania, not so much in the televote. I think this draw, it's not helping them, with Ukraine coming immediately after it.
And Ukraine, of course, is a big televote magnet. I mean, that's at least the way we're looking at it right now, because people reacted to it so much when that entry was performed during the first semi-final. You saw them going up with the bookmakers, you saw their downloads going up, you saw people reacting to it on social media. Are we going to be in for another Kaino?
Yeah, it could be. You know, kind of was a surprise that they won the televote, and especially in the way they did it with so many points. And it's always hard to predict the big surprises. It's always very difficult to predict these. And there are a couple of options I have in the back of my mind that could be the surprising acts in the televote like this. I still have Iceland, for instance, in the back of my mind. They were one of the big favorites of last year. They've stayed kind of low-key all season long. But the vibe in the venue, that's always important during family shows. I try to pick up, hey, now we have televoters in the hall, the normal people who watch Eurovision.
Yeah, people outside of the bubble.
Outside of the bubble. Yeah, that's what I meant with normal people. We are very abnormal.
We're not normal.
The way we follow Eurovision, I know it's not normal, but it's fun. And the vibe for Iceland and for Finland, with also during the family shows, was huge. So those two make me think, like, am I underestimating the televote magnets that they can be? And when talking about Iceland, we haven't spoken about them that much this week, but also the story of them now being in quarantine. And I think a lot of people in Europe have been through the same. Maybe they had a sports game coming up and it was cancelled, or they had plans for a birthday, or
holidays,
or even to see some of your relatives for the last time.
Oh yes.
And you had to be quarantined during a very important moment in your life. If, I don't know for sure, but if that message comes across, if people pick that up, like they have a fun act, people were already maybe tempted to vote for them, and then you see this, you get this story as well, and you relate to it, like how horrible must it be for them? And it is horrible. It's the worst thing that could happen to them, to miss after 2 years of long waiting, being one of the main contenders last year, and now you're missing out on that opportunity in the last couple of days because of a positive COVID test. If people pick that up and can relate to it within themselves and what they have been through, I don't know, could be a huge televote if that story gets picked up.
And other than Iceland, you mentioned Finland already. It's interesting that you said it's a family show, because that doesn't feel like a family song, you know. But still, it's huge. It gets a huge reaction.
Yeah, but remember, and we spoke in Tel Aviv with the Icelandic commentator. You did that interview with him. And do you remember what he said about Hatari and how in Iceland, which age range were most enthusiastic about it? It was the children and the young adults. They loved Hatari. Now the same thing goes for Finland. My youngest son was in the venue for one of the family shows, and the one that stood out for him, I'm not gonna explain him what the language means. Not yet. He's 8, but it stood out for him with the fireworks, and he felt it, and it's just
a lot of energy.
Yeah, a lot of energy, and I also saw just teenage girls or women in their early 20s, but even some older people, and they all liked Finland in the venue. So it's something in the back of my mind. I'm not letting it. It's not the thing a family shows and how they react in the hall. It's always different than when you see it on TV. So you can't copy it one-on-one, saying it went huge in the hall. Thus, it will get a big televote. That's not the case. But these two I have in the back of my mind, they could surprise. Apart from the obvious countries that will do very well in the televote, which are Italy. We haven't mentioned them in the show a lot, but of course Italy is a televote magnet. San Marino closing the show with Florida. I could see them doing very well in the televote. Ukraine is a televote magnet. So there are a lot in this Eurovision final, a lot of televote, a lot of nations with televote appeal. But if there's a big surprise, a Kaino, as you asked me, if we have it this year, my money would be on Iceland or Finland.
You said there is not a direct link between the reaction in the arena and the televoting. But actually this year there might be some kind of link between it. Not the way that the reaction in the arena determines the televote, but maybe the other way around. Because there's an app this year that will make it happen so that you at home can clap for your favorite act, and that those sounds will then actually be heard in the arena.
Our goal is bringing interactivity to the audience. Voting is nothing more than interactivity. And this year we developed a feature for the Eurovision Song Contest app that allows the viewer at home to applaud the artist on stage. So this is like the start of the show. Lithuania is currently performing, and then you have about 2 minutes, 30 seconds time to applaud the artist. They tap on the app, and by tapping more often or faster or slower, we can recognize this pattern and the amount of claps that we receive. It's recognize where you're coming from, so that we can balance out the huge audience from Germany in comparison to the audience in Georgia, so that it's fair for everybody. And then we deliver a result to the audio department here in Ahoy, and they transform it into audio, into clapping noise that everybody can hear on television.
So we were already working from home, we were doing pop quizzes from home, and now we can also clap for our favorite Eurovision songs from home. Very fitting to this year, right?
Yeah, it's inventive of them. It's, I hope it's a one-time thing, though, that next year we have a packed venue again, and we don't
people
have to,
standing in the standing
yes.
areas as well. That's the way it should be in those last couple of years. You talked a lot about France. I think she's your number one pick for Eurovision.
Yeah, what
victory
gave it
right
away?
now.
Yeah.
The bookies still are set on Italy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them a little bit as well before we close up this show. What makes Italy a potential or even a likely Eurovision winner?
Well, Italy, already in Sanremo, you saw how gifted and charismatic they are in grabbing the camera. They are TV performers, and that makes sense because they've grown up. They gained popularity after taking part in X Factor, and they had to grow. And looked into them a bit because I'm a huge Sanremo fanatic. So already in March, I looked into them because they were, in my opinion, one of the main contenders in Italy to win Sanremo, let alone Eurovision, what we're talking about now. And at X Factor, they started off a bit timid even. Because first you have audition rounds, and it's not, you don't start off on the stage like they are now. You have to start in an audition room, and it's a bit different. And they are also, when you interview them, when you see and speak to them like in normal life, they have so much sympathy around them. It's such nice,
they're calm
and calm people,
yeah.
and respectful, and then you see them on stage, and it's like, I have to think about Queen and Freddie Mercury. You have these glam rock bands in the past, of course, and then they are on stage. Freddie was also really timid guy when he was not on stage. But
and then the guitar starts.
Yeah, then the guitar start playing, and it like there's a switch, and they are so good. Also in making that connection with each other. They have great chemistry with each other. But most important, because that's where rock bands at Eurovision sometimes have failed in the past, they also connect to the cameras because of their X Factor past, which is a green flag, a big green flag, as we call it, with jurors alongside the televote. So yeah, I could see them, I don't see them winning the jury vote, but we calculated it last night because we talked about this. How many points do you need at least to gain with the jury vote to compensate and get the actual win? And it's about 210 points. That's what you need, and then with a big televote you can win it. So that's a big barrier for Italy. If they can really win it, they need to tick over the 200 points in the jury show.
All right, so we're going to look out for that tonight to see if Italy can get that result, because we get the jury points first, of course.
I must mention Victoria.
I was just going to say,
girl playing the electric guitar, big plus for me.
I was going to say I would have chemistry too if she was playing behind me. Yeah. Anyway, so
no, it's just badass, and it gives something extra once again, perhaps also for younger girls watching. Just one more extra aspect that makes it give it enough sympathy to actually vote for it. So I'm not a teenage girl, but trying to imagine.
Could have fooled me. All right, so Italy, the last of the top favorites that we've discussed. I think we're ready, and I think people at home are ready for the grand final and to finally know the results and to finally have another Eurovision winner after 2 years. What can they still expect from you and from ESC Daily, not only tonight, maybe during the show, but in the days afterwards, because then Eurovision is over and we don't want to just fall into a black hole?
No, I always try to pick it up with sort of an aftermath series. When we look back at the results, try to explain what happened, because usually each year, and that's also a fun part, you have all these predictions beforehand, and some came out and some didn't. And then you try to look back and look for explanations why some country was even a non-qualifier with the jury in a semi-final show. We've seen it with Norway when we talk about Kaino again. They were a non-qualifier with juries and a huge televote magnet. And that was like, those discrepancies are very interesting. And I always look into that after the contest and try to see some connections for years to come that make the predictions hopefully even better.
All right, so go to ESC Daily this next week for those explanations and for those aftermath articles, but not before you've watched and thoroughly enjoyed tonight's grand final. Thank you for watching Rotterdam Inside, our Eurovision talk show. I'd like to thank ESC Daily and OGAE for making this possible, and of course you for watching this all week long. enjoy the Eurovision final.
Say goodbye like Hendrik.
Hendrik?
Yeah.
Hendrik.
Tot snel.
Tot snel.